What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is April 10th of 2022. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, I want to spend some time to talk about three key charts that I think you need to keep an eye on as we've had the recent correction in Bitcoin's price. As we pull back down from 48,000 down towards 42,500, I know a lot of people are concerned that we might be retesting back down to the 30K range, that we're in for a significant correction, but I think there are three things that are really important to watch that will help put things in perspective. We've got lots of things to dive into in today's video right after our quick sponsor. Our sponsor for today's episode is TaxBit. The 2021 tax season is here. When it comes to crypto, dealing with taxes can be difficult, but it doesn't have to be. TaxBit helps you calculate your tax obligations on your cryptocurrency activities by plugging in your various exchanges and crypto platforms. With support for over 481 crypto exchanges, you can track your crypto accounts and wallets with ease. And thanks to the TaxBit network, your exchange likely provides free tax documents powered by TaxBit. If you're interested to learn more, check out the link in the description below and start this year's tax season off with ease. All right, everyone, so let's go ahead and kick off the video here. I want to start by diving into the Bitcoin price chart. As many of you have already seen, over the past 2 weeks, we've been seeing Bitcoin's price come up here towards this range of $48,000, setting a new relative highs since as far back here as December of 2021. But we've also seen a retest down here of this previous resistance range, as well as a similar support range here. It was both support in the past and previous resistance. Now, Bitcoin's price tried to come down here after this rally from $38,000 to $48,000, a nice 10K premium rally for Bitcoin's price, and tried to see whether or not it could turn this range into support. Unfortunately, there weren't enough limits or bids on the order book, as well as market order flow, in order to push prices higher. We have since collapsed through that range. And the question here remains as to whether or not we're really going to see us come down here towards 30,000. Right? All the while, we weren't 100% certain as to whether or not we'd hold that range and make it new support. The big question that a lot of people have in their minds is whether or not this is going to go all the way back down, and we're going to see some calamity, some crazy sell-off down to the 30K range. And I'm going to be honest with you all the while, it's not to say we couldn't pull back maybe another 1,000 or so in price. I do not think we're going down to that $30,000 range, and I'll stand by that bet. Now, what I want to talk about here in this channel is what I can be almost nearly certain of here, and kind of put my money where my mouth is on my bets. And one of those here is focusing on the fact that Bitcoin has been continuously setting in higher lows over time. I know a lot of people think that prices are just going to roll over and that we're going to come back down to this range here at around 30,000. But I just don't think it's the case here, considering the supply contraction as well as some of the other important charts we're going to be focusing on. Let's go ahead and dive in through some of those. First off here, while everyone is very concerned about the performance of Bitcoin, yes, I know we're not at all-time highs and we're not absolutely mooning. Well, take a look here at a ratio that we've talked about here on the channel before, and that is the Bitcoin to S&P 500 ratio. We can see here that this basically tracks the ratio of performance of Bitcoin as an asset versus the S&P 500, a broad measurement of 500 of the largest stocks in the stock market. And all the while, we've had a little bit of a pullback here over the last week, about 7% on the ratio. We've been continuously setting in higher lows since as far back here as December and November of 2020. The ratio is performing phenomenally here. And what we've been generally seeing is a rate of higher lows and lower highs, wedging in for a potential breakout in the coming weeks and months. And this is the exact kind of technical buildup we want to see here for Bitcoin's price against the S&P 500. For it to basically be able to set up these higher lows, test in these lower highs, give us a breakout point here, a point of consolidation where price, or the ratio in this case, consolidates and coils in. And we have to see either a major breakup to the upside or a major breakdown. I'm going to go ahead and say again that if we continue these higher lows, these lower highs, we coil in that ratio, we will see a breakout. I'm going to again make it very clear that I've placed my money where my mouth is. And what we've been really good at calling here is some of these macro swings in the market when we're at discount periods, as well as when we're in overbought periods in the market. So again, not calling for the imminent super cycle like people have been calling it for the last year, but I do believe here going into some time later on in May and possibly June, in the sense of really kind of stretching it here, getting back up into this range, getting above this ratio, breaking past this previous resistance, making it support, and setting the foundation going into the summer for Bitcoin to really charter higher in price and start to significantly outpace the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the broader equities. Next up, I want to go ahead here and take a look at the ETH to BTC ratio. Right? We can see here that we've been setting at either consistent lows or higher lows in this case for the ratio. And even while Bitcoin is pulling back here and not holding that critical support, Ethereum is continuing to charter higher against Bitcoin. We're at our highest level here since as far back as January of 2020. And even though there was this dip in the market for Bitcoin, and of course, ETH's dollar value following as well, it's not selling off as hard as Bitcoin. We're seeing buyers coming in and supporting Ethereum's price here, which is signifying here that the market is optimistic. Again, this is not the kind of sign you would see in some kind of bear market for crypto. So again, I want to emphasize there are a variety of different signs here that we need to be watching. We can't just be watching the dollar values. It doesn't make much sense to watch dollar values when you're going through this consolidative period. What matters most is the various signs we can find in the market, whether it be ratios or, in this case, a ratio of Bitcoin to altcoins or altcoins to Bitcoin, that we can see whether or not the market is taking more risk and planning for higher highs in the market. It has a more bullish attitude versus a bearish attitude. Now, there's one other last chart that I want to show you guys, and then we'll dive into some really interesting stuff around the Bitcoin Miami conference, and that is the 1 year HODL wave. Now, you guys might recall that we've talked about this before on the channel, talking about how we've gone up from around 54% of the entire Bitcoin supply not moving in the last year, back in September 2021, to here in April of 2022, a couple months later here, really nearly half a year here in the sense of the time for crypto, more than half a year. We can see that we're up here towards 64%, the highest range we've ever seen in history, only on par here with September of 2020. And you guys know exactly what we did back here. We saw Bitcoin's price charter up from $10,000 to $63,000. It has to do with the supply contraction in markets. Price only moves up for any asset when you have increased or sustainable demand for an asset and you have a supply contraction. Now, price can move up when you have a stark change in either of those, and it can also go downwards as well if there's an influx of supply in the market, if Satoshi were to sell all his Bitcoin or something like that, or some major whales just started unloading on the market, right? Those kind of things can change the dynamics negatively as well for price. But what we're seeing here, according to the metrics, and the on-chain metrics do not lie here, they're fully transparent, they're based off the Bitcoin ledger. We can see here that there are more and more people on average who are holding their Bitcoin for more than a year or more. And this is the kind of supply contraction that in the past has led to entire bull markets or mid-cycle rallies. And vice versa, when we start to see that number decline after a couple months, it starts to showcase that there is a supply overload on the market, that people are selling their Bitcoin, they're taking profit, the short-term holders are taking their profits off the market. And from there on out, that we should probably be expecting the price will start to slow down and pull back. For now, though, we've got the supply contraction, which is what drives rallies. And demand right now, and I think we can see this manifesting in price here. All the while, you've got these short-term rallies and dips. The key thing here is that buyers are coming in at higher premiums. They're not waiting around for the same kind of corrections that we saw back in the past. They're not waiting for a retest of $30,000 or a retest of $20K, as some people have been calling for. And this is, again, the kind of rational mindset that I think we need to take into account here, which is that it's not going to happen overnight, but we're still set on this idea that going into the spring, we are going to see some action in Bitcoin. We are going to get back up to that $60,000 range for Bitcoin and give Bitcoin a chance to be able to set a new all-time highs, turn previous highs or resistance from back in May or back in July into, as we saw in November, into new support for Bitcoin's price to move higher. So anyways, that's it in regards to the major analysis I wanted to do here today, guys. But I wanted to leave some room here to showcase some of the stuff that I did at the Bitcoin Miami conference, some of the people I got to chat with, some people I really admire from fellow content creators as well as fellow founders in the space, and also just share some really cool photos from the Bitcoin Miami conference. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video.
Alrighty guys, I'm sitting here with Alex Majinsky, founder and CEO of Celsius. Alex, thank you for making the time. It's good to see you as always.
Good to see you again.
Yeah. So I want to get a general feel here. How's the conference feeling for you since maybe last year when we saw each other?
Well, last year was amazing. You know, we had El Salvador, we had all this activity now. I think we expanded the size of the venue by 10x or something. So everybody doesn't have to meet outside in the boiling heat. It's busy as ever. As you can see, we had to put a guard and put a frame around it, otherwise people will be walking all over us. And our community is growing, more than doubled since last year. And the crypto community is doing great. We're now 1.7 million users worldwide. So yes, it's moving fast.
I wanted to chat about that, Alex, because Celsius has become more than just a yield-generating platform. I mean, that's obviously your guys' bread and butter, your focus as an app, but now you guys are starting to focus out towards a whole range of features, and one of the big ones I know you're focusing on is Celsius X. So I know that you guys are working towards Wrap Bitcoin being one of the major announcements.
We just launched it, yeah. No better place to launch Wrap Bitcoin than on the Bitcoin conference.
Miami, yeah.
Yeah, so so you're right. So we originally had yield, then we added loans. You could take a loan 1%. Then we added swap, so no fees, no spreads. You get to pay the same price for Bitcoin as very large institutions, right? So that's something cheaper than Coinbase Pro, cheaper than FTX, right? You can basically go from any asset to any asset, 24/7. And then on top of it, we're now basically adding Celsius X, which is a way to participate in DeFi, but without getting into all the Wild West, without getting killed by hacks or rug pulls. Or just this year, we're in April, and this year there's already $2 billion worth of hacks. So instead of doing, doing bridges, right, and getting those bridges hacked, we are using a native minting, right? So we can go we lock Bitcoin and we issue it on the Ethereum network. And that's basically a much safer way. Vitalik was talking about that in some of his posts just in the last 3 months. And I think the industry as a whole is recognizing that you can't just do smart contract-based bridges.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when the hacks were 5 or 10 million, people were like, okay, we'll fix the bugs. But when the hack is 600 million,
right,
like with Axie Infinity, people are scratching their hands saying, okay, we better come up with a better alternative.
Yeah, when Axie's Ronin bridge got breached, there was Poly Network. You had a lot of major ones this past
Solana,
year.
300 million.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. But it's interesting, Alex. I'm interested to keep up with Celsius X. I love to see how you guys are expanding the ecosystem. And we'll definitely, if you guys are interested, we'll leave a link down below in the description where you guys can find more about Celsius Network as an app.
All right, guys, here with Austin Woodward, one of the co-founders of TaxBit. We just had him on the channel recently. Austin, it's good to see you, man. How have you been doing?
Great to be here, Nick.
Awesome. So you guys are one of the big sponsors here and stuff. I got to first ask you, how are you feeling about the conference this year? Because my understanding is you were here last year, right, in the previous Miami.
It's incredible. We've been here, I think, coming together to conferences since 2018, and man, we can remember the days when we all fit within, call it a gymnasium, and there was 10 people, and now you look at what we just took over the whole city of Miami, essentially, crypto did. So it's incredible energy, incredible use cases for where the asset class is going, and incredible people. What a community that is being built.
Absolutely. I think as Austin was saying, there's just to get perspective, guys, for those of you who aren't attending, there's I think 25,000 people, and when you just go down
just
the strip,
at the conference.
Yeah.
Like not even outside of it.
Exactly. And when you go down the strip, you see crypto events everywhere, people from the crypto space. As Austin put it, they've really taken over Miami. But speaking of that, Austin, you guys have nailed one really solid niche in the market that's a big problem, and that's dealing with crypto taxes and reporting. So I wanted to hear a little bit about TaxBit's network. This has been one of the major products you guys have focused on. You used to focus more on individual subscriptions, getting people's taxes dealt with, but now you guys are working with PayPal, Coinbase, major exchanges. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, really excited about the TaxBit network. Over the years, we said, how can we make tax filing free for everyday crypto users? It's all about building the community and passing on the cost to, the brokers, the large enterprises that in traditional asset classes, they kind of foot the bill and help you out. And so that's exactly what we did there, and it's a huge success with this free TaxBit network forums for all the community this year.
Yeah, the really cool thing about it, guys, as a product, and again, I have to give hats off to you, Austin. For me, I'm always interested in seeing
like kind of the upcoming emerging projects in the space, what TaxBit does really good is that they basically help to kind of offset a lot of the frustration and costs from the user. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically focused also on getting the companies to be the ones responsible for helping this. And that's what traditional brokerage apps do. So if you trade on Robinhood or any other kind of brokerage app to buy stocks, you're usually going to do something like that. But yeah, no, awesome, dude. So happy
Great
for
to
you,
be here, Nick. Yeah, likewise.
Cryptocurrency, while it's anonymous, there are certain identifiers that we can track when we're investigating human trafficking cases. It's much easier for law enforcement to follow that transparency in cryptocurrency than it is for us to follow in cash. So we just want to make sure that people understand that intersectionality between human trafficking and cryptocurrency. Technology is not good or bad, it's just kind of what we do with it. So we like to empower law enforcement officers and prosecutors to understand cryptocurrency, know what it is, how to utilize it for the good, and prosecute trafficking. So really important.
It's really incredible, like over the past couple of years, how chain analysis and so many companies have been able to make much more use out of Bitcoin in trying to fight criminal activity. Then again, I think what the report came from the DOJ, and they worked in chain analysis as well, that there was about $600 of cash spent for illicit activities for every $1 of Bitcoin activities, if I got that right?
That sounds completely accurate. Yeah, that's very true. And I think it's really interesting to think about how we can use cryptocurrency to create more transparency. When we are looking at corporations who are engaging in things like forced labor in other countries, and they're like, well, we didn't know it was happening. Cryptocurrency is a great way to see if it's happening and make sure that when they are paying for things like migrant workers or agricultural farms, that we can see the transparency of that money actually going into the wallet of the worker. So there's no room for exploitation or that bureaucracy or sometimes corruption.
Sometimes don't get paid for what you actually do. Yeah. That's the problem is it's such a widespread thing in the supply chain of pretty much any industry that people touch. So I'm very excited to see what you guys are doing.
So that's cool. Really it's just about creating awareness and make sure people understand that. It's still a really new concept to a lot of people, and so they just immediately see the word cryptocurrency and they shut down. Like, oh, the investigation stops here, and that's like not true. It's actually where the investigation starts. So
very
it's kind of cool.
Awesome. Love the work you guys are doing.
Well, everyone, that's it for today's video summarizing the Bitcoin Miami conference. I just tried to get a couple interviews in to show you guys some of the people who I got to meet with, whether it be people building companies in the space or those working on nonprofits where crypto is playing a role and making the world a better place. There's all kinds of things that I didn't get to cover, but if you guys are interested, definitely consider getting tickets for next year. I'd love to see you guys there. Got to meet many of you from the DataDash channel who were viewers of the channel in person, and it was so much fun to see all of you out there. So I'd love to see many of you else as well next year. And I just want to say again, for general sentiment check, if you didn't see the last video, I gotta say this year's conference made me just as confident as I generally am about crypto markets and where we're heading going forward. The excitement was in the air there for sure, but it was much more rational than the year before and much more focused on building and setting up the next chapter for crypto markets rather than chasing the euphoria of the previous conference. So anyways, everyone, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.